What's up, everybody? It's your boy, The Complete Fighter, JD Griffey, and you are watching Drinkin and Mo's podcast.
All right, everybody, welcome to Drinkin Mo's. Big Mo here. YouTube, be sure like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff, because that YouTube algorithm's a pain in the ass. We're on Apple, Google, Spotify, Anchor. Leave a review. Today, I'm excited. I have with me today, you've seen him in quite a few places recently. I actually ran into him at Wrestling Revolver, Tales from the Ring. JD Griffey, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Mo?
I can't complain. You know, things getting settled for the holidays. Gonna take a little bit of a break recording interviews for then, concentrate on family and all that. But, I've had some good opportunities. I was actually featured in the Warrior 26 pre-show that I was like, oh, sweet, when I found out about that.
Hell yeah.
They've become pretty good friends of mine. But first thing I like to start off with each of my guests with is what got you started as a fan? And then what got you started making the leap into the business?
What got me started as a fan is always like I want to say an abstract question, but you would feel like it's not, considering we all watch wrestling. That's kind of what brings us to it. But I can't remember one thing in specific, like my first wrestling memory. I remember that one thing that got me hooked, and it was like, I can't even remember how old I was. I was so little, but like I remember Stone Cold cutting a promo, Stone Cold and The Rock. They were going back and forth back in the day, and cutting a promo. And Stone Cold was like, he said, when your beeper goes off and you look down and it says 316, your ass belongs to Stone Cold, right? And so as a kid, I was of the impression that you couldn't be a fan of both. Like at that time, if you liked The Rock, you didn't really mess with Stone Cold. You're just like, nah, fam. And so I was like a Rock guy, but I always respected Stone Cold. So it was always like, yo, Rock, like stop antagonizing, anybody but Austin, bro. Like, yo, just chill, because it never went well. And so, The Rock's cutting this promo, it's the Intercontinental Championship, they're doing the whole spiel. The Rock's cutting this promo. His beeper goes off and he goes in the old fanny pack, and he looks. And you see Mary, what I'm talking about? He like looks, and Stone Cold spins him around, starts whooping his ass. And I remember being like, I told you. And so it was one of those things where it was like, and all your friends are at school and, everybody's watching it. And so it was just one of those things where it was like, my younger brother and I, we'd have all the little couch cushions off, and, we'd hear my parents upstairs and be like, oh, mom and dad are coming. And we try to like put the cushions back up, and stuff like that. And so I was hooked pretty early. I used to have the little WWE, the little attitude, the little CDs, what I'm talking about, where I had all the theme music's on there. Yeah, and we used to, my younger brother and I used to put on like little wrestling shows, and we were like everybody on the show. You know what I mean? And so it was one of those things where it was like I was hooked as a fan like pretty early. And I just I didn't even really know what it was. Like I didn't really even understand pro wrestling like all that much. I just knew I was just hooked. I was like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm here for all of it. I'm here for all of it. And then, just, coming along after that, my dad, being friends with Booker T, I used to be able to go to the shows. Like his son used to live with us and stuff like that. And so when WWF, or at the time WWE was in town, we would get to go to like the little shows. And then like, I remember it was one Raw in Dallas, and I remember we were sitting really close, and like Kane did like the fire, like and it was actually hot.
Oh
And
yeah.
I remember being like, oh, this shit is real. Oh my God. And so like as a little kid, I was like on one. I was like here for all of it. So like I think those are the
Mm,
memories, like going to the shows and like experiencing the like pageantry of it. But then like as a
yeah.
kid, just being invested, and like I feel like that was one of those things. Like I got invested in wrestling emotionally pretty
Mm,
early. Like I would be upset. I would like, you know what I mean? I would be
yeah.
like it would like mess up my day, man. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like if the guy I like didn't win on Monday Night Raw, like Tuesday morning was a rough day at school for me, man. Like you know what I mean? Like it was,
Mm,
and then like going all in as a performer, I was in martial arts a lot, like in school and
mm,
stuff like that. So I kind of gravitated towards the Ken Shamrocks, the Steve
mm,
Blackmans, you know, RVD a little bit. I was a big Kurt Angle fan, you know, just
mm,
because he was an Olympic gold medalist, and so
yeah.
I was like, yo, but there was one of those things like I liked every wrestler for every different reason. Like I just kind of
Mm,
took in wrestling as a whole,
yeah.
and so, but yeah, just going all in as a performer. I think I made the decision like that I wanted to do it like maybe ninth, 10th, 11th grade. And I remember my dad was having none of it. He was like, you're going to college
Mm,
first, this, and that. And like my dad probably thought it was a phase. He was like, all right, after you get done with school, you go ball after you're done with school. If you still want to wrestle, I'll pay for it, yada, 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 that whole thing. And when the time came, he was like, all right, so you want to come work with me instead? I was like, at NASA, and it's like, fuck no. You said, you know, you said,
yeah.
and then like, yeah. And then so after that, it was pretty much history. And then, yeah, I just
That-
went to, we visited a few schools. It was weird because I feel like that's not like commonplace now, but I remember going to the training schools with my parents.
mm,
And like, and I remember people being like, yo, who the fuck? And I was just like, I just thought that's how it was. I really
yeah.
did. I just thought that how it was. And so I went and like, I treated it like almost like college recruiting. Like I went with my
Mm,
parents, we saw the facilities and stuff like that, and you
yeah.
already know how wrestling is. Some of these places are kind of jank, And so there were
Yeah.
some schools that we went to and we turned right around,
Right back.
you know. And so we got to Waxahachie. We were trying to find places that were close. So this town, Waxahachie, Texas, Killer Tim Brooks, legend, Hall of Famer. He had a school. And when we went there, it was like a barn. It looked like a barn. Like he had a really nice house. And then off to the
Yeah.
side, he had a farm. And it was like this barn. And it was like a dungeon. It was like a dungeon, and everybody in there was sweating. It looked awful. And I was like, I just knew my dad was like about to turn back around, right? But he did it. He started like nodding his head, and I was like, "Oh, what? Oh, hell no! Like, no way!" Like, I'm like, "Oh God, no!" And so we ended up signing on with Killer Tim Brooks, and I started my training at Killer Tim Brooks in the dungeon in the freaking hot box. It's like 100 degrees every day. But then like 6 weeks after that, my dad also, we had gotten permission from Killer to also train at Skandor Akbar's. So I was
Mm,
learning from two Hall of Famers, you know,
yeah.
uh, and so I was learning at the feet of fucking legends. And at the time, I didn't know how much of an opportunity it was. I actually like bitched about it a lot. My dad was like, oh my God, you know, you know, and yeah, that was it. Like it was one of those things where it's like, I want to try. I got to know, because I went through a
Yeah.
lot of phases where I'd be like, oh, I want to be a soccer player. I want to do this, or I want to do that. And you know how kids are. You pick it up,
Yeah.
especially if you're good at it right away, which was kind of my curse, if you will. Was like I'm
Yeah.
pretty good at anything I picked up. And so the only thing I ever stuck with was science and martial arts, and then now pro wrestling. And so yeah, it was boom, and I kind of hit the ground running, and it was history after that, man. It's crazy.
That's awesome. We kind of have some similarities there, especially with that whole Rock Austin era. I was
Oh yeah,
more the Stone Cold guy, but I had the respect for the
yeah.
Rock because
You had to,
you almost
you
had
know,
to like
you had to pick a
your
side,
one, but you
bruh.
had to have respect for that other one.
You had to respect the other one because he was such a good adversary. And I
Oh
think the
yeah.
best wrestling rivalries are like that. Any rivalry in any kind of storytelling, you are only
Yeah.
as good as the person who is the antithesis of you, like your opposite,
Mm-hmm.
and you guys go
Yep.
out there, and that's what creates those battles. You got Batman and Joker, Stone Cold, Austin.
Mm-hmm.
You got
Yep.
Edge, Cena. You got these guys who like it just is what it is. It's crazy, and these wrestling rivalries, you still find them today. It's the beautiful thing about storytelling and wrestling. Is like, even though there were so many of those great rivalries back in the day, there are times now where we still have these rivalries that we're almost invested in so much that they're a part of our identity, like the Sami Zayn and Steen, like Sami Zayn and Kevin
Mm-hmm.
Owens, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you're a hardcore wrestling fan, the rivalry is so much bigger than WWE, right? And
Oh yeah.
so it's one of those things where when Sammy won't side with with Kevin, you feel some way. You feel some way, like, bro, like, what the, and
Totally.
just to feel like wrestling as a whole has that, like in WWE, and
Mm-hmm.
even home in AEW, we have those rivalries as well. That's just nuts. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, you just wrestling is everywhere. It's in Ring of Honor, it's in AEW, it's even in the indies, like even
Mm-hmm.
with, like we were talking about Revolver, like Swan and
Yes.
Swerve,
Yeah.
and right now Swerve beefing with the homie. So I was rooting for Swan. You know what I'm saying? Swerve beefing with Keith. So I'm already like, yo, Swan, put him in a bag, bro. Put him in a coffin. Put that shit away, dog. Like this guy. But yeah, it's just one of those things, like, you get to see these great rivalries, and like that we still have them in wrestling today. And all things considered, I'm excited to see the rivalries in the future. And then even the next generation after we're done with this whole thing. Like, will those guys still have classics? All signs point to yes. So.
Yeah. And another thing with Revolver and going into those rivalries, they even have some that are spanning multiple promotions at one time.
Absolutely.
Like, you got Macklin and Callahan, and
Mm-hmm.
just the intensity of, now Macklin has the Revolver title.
Yep.
What's Callahan gonna do? And they had the big barbed wire massacre match not all that long ago with the two of them and Moose, and just
and the animosity there is the rivalry. It's all very feral, and it's all very real, and it's all very, you kind of see these things like bleed into their matches quite literally, and even with Macklin, who's just like, he's intense,
Yeah.
and then like Sammy's intense as well. And then so it just creates these rivalries, like you say, like, oh, these two guys are about to kill each other. All right, where's my drink? Here's my food. I'm here for it. Let's go. And I think that's what Revolver gives the fans, like, every freaking show, man. Like, it's debuting there was kind of crazy, because it was almost like the fanaticism of Revolver's fan base. It's like, it's nothing like you. I'm gonna be honest, like, it's nothing like it. So it was like one of those things where I bust through the curtain in the X Division title match, and it was just like, oh, these motherfuckers are ready to go. Like, forget if it was for real. It was like, forget if the guys in the ring are ready to go. These fucking fans, they're ready to get. They like, yo, come on, get to the ring. We don't got time for this. Let's go, get to the ring. Let's go.
Yeah, I remember being there, and totally.
And so it's just one of those things, like, wrestling is so full of that right now. It's very, very, very exciting to be a part of.
Oh, I can only imagine. I mean, some of the matches that happened that night, that multiple multi-man matches. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
The match you were in with the X Division title scramble match, you had Billy Starks, who, good God, she is on fire right now.
The kid's amazing. The kid is amazing. She's a little troll, and I want to, like, strangle her sometime. She always just catches me off guard, and like, I'm never paying attention, and I'm just like, what? And she's just like, nothing, I was just messing with you, and you didn't hear any of it. And it's just like, what did I ever do to you, Billy? Like, what the? And but it's just one of those things. She's like everybody's kid sister, and you find everybody, you know, everybody's rooting for her, and she's everybody's kid sister. She's a sweet kid, and Mouse is out there, her dad's out there, and it's really good to see, and she's in good hands in the business. Everybody looks out for her, and she's dedicated, and she's driven, and she's so young. I think she only just turned 18. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
she's
like just recently, the last week or so.
Yeah, so it's like, she did all this stuff. She's wrestled all over the country. Then she goes to Japan, and then she turns 18. So you're like, all right, kid, you're off to a good start, kid. Just you could probably jog and still win the race. So, you got a nice head start. But again, it just goes to show, like, just the grit that she possesses. Because I know that doing some of that stuff at 22 was tough for me. And then for her, she's so seasoned, and it's just amazing to see the things that she does. And then you got him in the match. Also, you got Chris Bay, who I think the only thing that guy can't do is go broke. You know what I mean? Like he's like in the music. He's an artist. He's the dude can draw. He's a bodybuilder. He's a freaking athlete. Like it's just like, all right, Chris. Like Chris is another guy who's, he's just a generational talent. You got Speedball at the time, the X Division champ, a fellow martial artist. So that was there. You got Casey Navarro, a guy who's like Dante Leon. It was like Gringo Loco. It was like, look, we had some studs in there. It was some lumber throwing, and it was a fun match. And Revolver was definitely one of those shows. Like, I'll be back there pretty soon, but it's just one of those shows. Like after I left, I was like, oh, I can't wait to get back. And
I can only imagine.
It was because it was one of those things. Like even in that match, it's so funny. Like you'll probably remember it too, but I had like cracked everybody in the face, and everybody had went down, and I just heard the crowd come alive. And I turn around, and Speedball's just standing there. And it was like, that was my first, but like, you already know what I'm talking about. And so it was like, that was my first time there, but like everybody, you could feel it. Like the crowd was like, oh, it's about to go there. And we just started throwing live rounds, bro. And it was like, I was like, yo, like, it's really like that here. Okay. Because you see the videos and you see the advertisements, and, kudos to the production crew at Revolver. And so you like, oh, it's just well put together, well advertised, which that's what any promotion should do. And then you get there and you're like, oh, no, this ain't advertising. It's really like that. It's really like that. Like, it ain't advertising. We really like that here. And so I was like, oh, shit. All right, let's get it then. And so that was definitely a good experience, minus not walking away X Division champion. That's
would have been nice.
I think I closed the year. Yeah, I think I closed the year out okay, all things considered.
Oh yeah, all things considered, definitely. Good grief. I remember talking with Casey Navarro at the meet and greet before the show. And I said, I remember talking to you at Warrior Wrestling when they were in St. Louis. He was like, oh, yeah, the Mike Bennett match. It kind of dove over and into the crowd. I'm like, yeah, that happened right in front of me. And we both kind of laughed about it.
Yeah. And it's just one of those things where, like, in wrestling, we do so much crazy stuff. Sometimes we have to be, like, reminded, like, one time you did that thing, it's like, I do now. Holy crap, I can't believe I did that. Like, we're insane. We are insane.
Oh, yeah.
But you know what? Let me say this. We're nuts, but I feel like fans are more nuts than us, because some of the nuts thing, like Casey doing a flip into the third row, you think like somebody would be like, appalled or something. I guarantee you, everybody in the vicinity was like, yeah. So like, who's crazy? Who's crazy? You know what I mean? Like, So yeah, wrestling is fun right now, dude. It's just
totally so much fun. But I mean, you brought up the fans being crazy. I did that at that show when that happened. I mean, hell, I'm the crazy guy that when I was stationed in San Diego, I got to go to a handful of Padres baseball games, and there was one where I was sitting out in right field. There was a hard tag at third. Before I know it, benches clearing, bullpens clearing, And I think the people sitting around me are thinking I'm nuts because I'm standing up. Yes.
Yeah, dude. In a baseball game, that's a fight, and everybody gets scared. In pro wrestling, that's a contract signing, bro. That's how every
I
contract
know,
signing is,
right?
bro. Like we got a scrap on our hands. Let's go. I'm here for all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
man. Yeah.
oh yeah, and you mentioned, ending the year on a pretty good note. I mean, recently there's been, AEW. You've been a part of, handful of dark matches. You
Mhm.
were in one where another good friend of mine, uh, Jay Fowler, he where you were in the 20-on-1 match where there was that whole deal with Wardlow and he's attacking the security.
Oh, I was like, wait, what? 20 on one. Oh, okay. I remember. Wardlow's. It was. I think it was Missouri though. I think that was the
Yeah,
Missouri show. Yeah, I remember.
but yeah, that was pretty insane. I remember I wanted to go to that show because it's literally only a couple hours for me, but work and stuff, it wasn't gonna work out. But man, I remember watching that match. I'm like, oh damn. Then we some dark matches, which one of them I was looking up because I didn't actually get to watch this match, but leads into an event that you had just recently where you teamed up with Shane Taylor, part of Shane Taylor Promotions,
Yeah.
and pretty good stint there with handful of AEW, and then going into, and I was pleasantly surprised because I remembered you from Revolver and seeing,
Yeah.
oh damn, he's going to be in their Ring of Honor final battle with Shane Taylor Promotions against
Yeah.
Swerve in Our Glory, which
Yeah.
I mean, how people might have thought the match would go after Swerve, spoiler alert, walked out.
Yeah.
It was a damn good match. And
yeah.
so, yeah, very much so being able to end on a good note. What was that night like? Final battle, because everybody, the longtime wrestling fans who had been a fan of Ring of Honor for like a long time are all clamoring for Ring of Honor. What are they going to do next? What was that night like for you?
For me, it was a tale of two coins, I guess I would say, because it was more people who have followed my career and Keith's career, they pretty much go hand in hand. He's like a childhood friend of mine. Like I've known him 20 years. He's like a brother to me. And so it was one of those things where it was like we always envisioned ourselves at the biggest stages and stuff like that, but never in an adversarial way. So that was one of those weird things where I was like, okay, it's kind of weird, this will make Christmas holidays really bizarre in a few weeks,
Yeah.
But yeah, and then with Shane, Shane signing with Shane Taylor Promotions, anybody who's followed Shane Taylor, he's a different kind of dude, he's super intense, and I was at a point for myself where I was just stacking bodies and racking up titles, but I didn't feel like I was getting the recognition that I deserve. I felt like every show was a debut, and I felt like I had been carving for long enough that it shouldn't be. Like even I think for the Revolver show, we can speak on the Revolver show again, just to go on a small tangent of when I walked out, I know you guys didn't know who the fuck I was. Who's this guy? I mean, he looks cool. He looks intent, but I kind of got to see by the time the match is over, like, hell yeah, come back, dude, hell yeah. The please come back chance. And that's cool. But I feel like I had to do that every match. So it was one of those things like, what am I missing? And it was just like one of those things like my bouts weren't promoted properly. I wasn't getting the best opportunity, whatever, what have you. The thing with being with Shane Taylor Promotions is like Shane didn't just get me the best fights, right? That's not all he did. He didn't just get them promoted correctly. and they're high marquee matches. He didn't just do that. He wasn't just at the facilities with me helping me prepare for these bouts. When match time comes, when bell time comes, he's lacing his boots to go into battle with me. It's different. It's different.
Yeah.
You know, and so when people were like, why did it take you so long to sign? And I was like, well, I had to wait for the ink to dry. You know what I mean? Because it was like once I was and like again, we're still working at the growing pains because I'm a bit different than a lot of the other members in Shane Taylor Promotions. You know, I'm a different kind of fighter and stuff like that. And so, but like it's one of those things where like when Shane says he's all in with you, he's all in with you. And then like we saw that Keith was in a weird situation. And it was just bittersweet. It was one of those things where it's like, all right, forget the window of opportunity. We're kicking in the door, but the door has Keith's name on it. And I'm like, you know, and I'm just like, and, you know, but for him to be mature, like business is business. And it was one of those things that was weird. The story going into it was like, yo, the three of us had been friends for like a long time. You know, it was like one of those things like we were kind of our own version of like the Shield, if you will, you know, just those three guys who just, you know, maybe not like, you know, like the gimmick or no stupid crap. Like not the gimmick was stupid, but like, you know, the fictional, like, but it was just like, but the fictional aspect of it, but like the real aspect of it, like Mox and, you know, fucking, you know, Rollins and Reigns, like they bros in real life. You feel me? And so I meant it more in that aspect of like the three of us, like are brothers, like, you know, and so it's one of those things like, Keith, you got two brothers at your 12 and you can't even trust the guy at your 6. You in a pickle. You know what I mean? And it was one of those things like going out there, you know, Shane was like, hey, you know, you're probably the only person that's ever debuted for Ring of Honor at their biggest pay-per-view. It's kind of like debuting at WrestleMania. All right, no pressure. I'm like, you motherfucker. Like, I was like, you mother, you know what I mean? Like, you know, but no, and on a serious note, like going out there and just performing in Arlington, Texas, like kind of our backyard, you know, and everything coming full circle. And then, you know, there was a part of the match where Swerve, you know, kind of walked out on Keith, and I was just kind of like, that's a whole move. But, you know, Keith was able to eke out the victory and win where when Keith walked out on Swerve, Swerve wasn't able to get the victory. So, you know, in a couple of days in San Antonio, it's going to be interesting to see that conversation on Dynamite on TBS Wednesday night. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be an interesting thing to see. And, you know, Shane and I will be waiting in the wings. So, you know, we're going to see.
It's definitely going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I know at the media scrum, they made the announcement that ROH TV is going to be getting put on the relaunched Honor Club, which I will admit I went and subscribed because I'm like, being the Ring of Honor fan that I am, I had to get in there on that. What is your status there with, you know, the whole AEW, ROH? Like, are you going to be in there for?
Like, there's so many moving parts right now. I can say with 100% certainty until the boss speaks on it, I don't speak on it. You know what I mean? Like that's like, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, we're hearing a bunch of guys are getting signed to this and the guys are getting signed to that. I'm like, listen, until the boss speak on it, I don't speak on it.
No,
when they tell me to show up to work, I show up to work.
Yeah,
that's
totally get it, because it would kind of put you in a bit of an awkward spot if, like, you said one thing and then something happens and the thing that you mentioned fell through, and then it's like, well, shit.
Well, that's the weird thing. It's like, it's really nothing to mention because, like, we are so busy. Like, a lot of the moving parts, even in Ring of Honor, like, it's so busy that none of us are talking about that. We're like, what's next? Cool. What's next? Cool. And so it's weird sometimes when we're asked these questions, we're like, oh, so what's the status on this deal? And what's the status on this deal? And it's like, oh, I just know where I'm supposed to be on Tuesday. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't, you know.
I
Just tell me what to be and I show up,
hey, that's the way to do it.
and
You get
it
told.
keeps, I feel like it keeps everybody out of trouble. It keeps the company out of trouble. It keeps the wrestlers out of trouble. It keeps the management, the office, everybody's out of trouble. Those kind of things come from up high. And the only thing I got to worry about is who's opposing me in the ring. I just need to know who the ops are. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh no, I totally get you there.
I tell TK that every time. I'm like, look, you ain't got to worry about none of that other stuff. Like, I'm good. You just tell me who you need. You tell me the name, and then they dead. It's a body. You know what I'm saying? I'm cracking them in the face, and we going to work. Like that's really all. That's all Shane and I care about. It's like, what about this? And what we like, bro? All I need is the name, and we'll put them in a bag, bro. Like it's really that simple. But yeah, as far as for that, like I'm not playing coy like it's really like we don't. And a lot of the guys and you follow Ring of Honor, a lot of those guys are workhorses. Yuta and Cesaro and STP and Taven and Bennett. Like these guys are all workhorses. They're not worried about what's Woods. Like what I'm saying. Like everybody's just. The Briscoes, Revive, like everybody's just like, what's next? What the deal is? It's like, oh, that's cool. We'll let the office worry about that. What's next? So that's kind of been everybody's thing. We don't like, you probably won't be able to get any wrestlers to speak on it because there's nothing for us to talk about outside of who's the op, and we go get that.
No, and
I know about as much as everybody else does, like online, and then sometimes you'll hear like, oh, this is the new TV deal's here and this deal's here, and then you'll go to work and be like, where did you hear that? And it's people will be talking, and they're like, what? Where did you hear that? And so I don't get washed into it if it don't come from Tony Khan or Christopher Daniels or Sanjay Dutt. I'm good. Like I just
And that is definitely the way to go about it because, Navy, I heard about it all the time. Like, oh, we're hearing this or this. And I'm like, until the commanding officer is telling me, like,
that's on my orders,
from him, just tell me where I got to be. And
that's it.
Like you mentioned, there's so many moving parts, especially right now with everything, getting relaunched. And, right now, the archive footage for Ring of Honor is really what's on there.
Stupid, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
it's stupid long, and it's all of the classic matches too. Like,
yeah.
And so it's one of those things. Like, I think what everybody in Ring of Honor is endeavoring to do, and I probably shouldn't speak for everyone, but I think I know the kind of performers that I'm in the locker room with enough to speak for them and say, we know what the library consists of and the classics and the performances that were put on. We are more concerned about putting on things that are comparable to that or better than that than we will ever be worried about any other media deal talks and stuff. We, you know how the Ring of Honor guys are, you already know. It's like, man, look, we worried about putting on classics. We want Ring of Honor to get its just due because there's a lot of people who associate Ring of Honor, even fans who watch Ring of Honor. You almost have to defend it when you talk about it.
Yeah.
Which doesn't make sense because these are the best grapplers on the fucking planet. But for some reason, we have to defend it. And it makes me feel some type of way. And so now being a part of Ring of Honor and AEW is one of those things where it's like we're not gonna have to defend wrestling as long as I'm on the screen. And Shane's like, well, they ain't defending it when I'm on the screen. And Swerve's like, when I'm on the screen. And Keith's like, when I'm on the screen. And Cesaro's like, when I'm on the screen. And Garcia's like, when I'm on the screen. And Yuta's like, when I'm on the screen. And so now you got a roster full of guys who's like, bro, as long as you see me on the screen, you're gonna get the best wrestling. And everybody is on one accord with that. So every Ring of Honor show is gonna hit you square in the mouth with the best wrestling that you can see. And when it is featured on All Elite Wrestling's television, you see what's up.
That is true. No, and I can only speak for myself. I am clamoring for whenever the ROH TV stuff gets going there. But yeah, you guys got a solid locker room with people that just want to be like, hey, you
Just
get me on the
love
screen,
wrestling,
you're going to
bro.
get every.
You getting the best version of pro wrestling that I can give you, and that's a beautiful thing to be. Because I don't know how much of the indies you travel, but you might find like 2 or 3 guys in every locker room that think like that, and then the rest of the guys just, they here for other reasons. And teach they own, whatever. I don't eat off another man's plate, so I try not to focus on what he's got on there. But it's one of those things like it makes me realize like that even at that pay-per-view, just guys showing up and just like, yo, fuck the games, all the jokes, all of that. We had all the time to do all of that media stuff before today.
Yep.
You can do the media stuff after the match over. We got the media scrum afterward. But from here to here, do you mean business? Are you ready to prove that you're one of the best wrestlers on the planet? If not, get the fuck off the fucking locker room. Get off the board. We don't want you on the board. And it's one of those things where I didn't realize what that was like until everybody in the locker room was like that. And
Yep.
It's fucking cool to see.
Oh, I can definitely tell you that from my perspective. I mean, I wasn't there in the locker room, but you can tell watching those matches.
You can tell.
Man,
you can tell.
You got that.
You can tell. We out there competing, bro. We out there trying to be the best versions of ourselves that we can possibly be. And it's bleeding into the matches. Like I was watching Garcia and Yuta in the Pure Rules match because I'm a bit of a grappler myself and I'm an MMA fighter and stuff. And so I'm over here like, yo, the Pure division is mine. Like as far as I'm concerned, I know I'm the new guy and I just got here. But listen, I want all the smoke. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah.
But you just watching that match between Yuta and Garcia, and you're just like the passion for grappling, right? And Garcia can call himself a sports entertainer all he wants to, but when he's in there with Yuta, he's a fucking professional wrestler, and he's damn good at it.
Oh,
and it's one of those things where it's like, I just love it. I think Ring of Honor is in good hands, and Tony Khan is giving everybody a platform and an opportunity to go like, hey, I want you to go out there and make these people love your wrestling as much as I do. When that's the guy sending you in the battle, because social media, I feel like he gets a lot of shit on social media for being enthusiastic. And I'm like, I can think of anybody in any job that they have who wish that their boss gave a shit about them. Like TK cares about us. This is the guy sending you in the battle going, hey, go out there and do your shit and make them believe in you. Make them love your wrestling as much as I do. Go. Bro, who's not? What? Say less.
Totally.
Say less. You hear it in my promo. Hey, say less, bro. That's all I need to hear. Let me go do this. Let me go bag something, bring it back,
Yeah.
And so I feel like that's the shift in the locker room, right? That's the shift in the locker room. And even in AEW, like that's the shift. You see it. You're starting to see it. You're starting to feel it. You're starting to feel it. Like the tear that Joe's on right now. You feel it. You feel like Hobbs has got something cooking. You feel it. He's just cutting promos right now, but you like, yo, when Hobbs, like, I feel like he's cooking something. Wardlow, he's cooking something. He's cooking something.
Yeah.
Right? Starts. Ricky, he's cooking something. Swerve and Keith, they're cooking something. Shane and I are cooking something. Like
definitely.
Jamie Hayter's cooking something. Cargill's cooking something. Now, people might not like what Cargill's cooking, but we will not deny that she's cooking something.
That is true.
You tuning in to see her get hit in the fucking mouth, right? Excuse my language, sorry. But
hey, there's a reason they talk about talking like a sailor. I mean, Navy veteran. I live it. So hey,
okay,
we're good.
So I'm just saying, I was like, I don't want your editor having a beep, 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 beep. That's all Morse code. But yeah, like you realize that like you see it in AEW's locker room, you see it in Ring of Honor's locker room, but like you said, you've been an avid Ring of Honor fan. That's not weird to you to see that kind of wrestling. For all of these people being introduced used to Ring of Honor, they're like, yo, this is different. For you, you like, oh no, this is par for the course, bro. This is what it is.
Yep.
This is what it is. It's what it's always been. It's what it's always gonna be. Any questions? Good. Roll the camera. You know what I mean? And it's like a good feeling. It's like a good feeling to be injected at the perfect time in the Ring of Honor television. That's very exciting for Shane and I. And for Shane, it was like a homecoming, right? Like it was like a homecoming. It was like it felt like coming home. And for me, it was like I was the new baby being brought home from the hospital. You know what I mean? You know, Shane's the kid coming home from college, you know, coming home, and it's like, oh, this is my home, but I'm the new baby that they brought from the hospital. It's nice though. Everybody's punching each other in the face, but it's okay. I can get with that. I can get down with that. I'm here for it, you know. Yeah. And so I'm excited about just being around the group of guys and gals in that locker room, and everybody's been super welcoming to me and super helpful. And that's the thing I love. I promise you, man, like Ring of Honor and AEW, like it's fun, man. It's everybody is good, everybody's helpful. And it's what makes me mad to hear some of the shit I hear online. It's just like, they don't know what y'all talking about. They don't know what y'all talking about. Like, it's so crazy. It's so crazy. I hate it. I hate it so much. But yeah, like, it's cool. And to answer your question with the deal, none of us are worried about it. I just went on this long soliloquy about what we're all focused on, right? So to answer your question, that's what we're focused on. We're not focused on the deal. Like, we already know, like, when boss told us it's taken care of, we took him at his word, and we just moving forward and just, you know, doing what we're supposed to do.
No, that's the way to do it. You know, you worry about the in-ring stuff, let them take care of that.
That's their job. They don't pay me to worry about. Yeah, they don't pay me to worry about them. They pay me to kick people in the face, choke them out, and call it a day. So that's what I focus on. That's what I practice.
No, nothing wrong with that. You know, good way to go about it. I have two categories that I kind of do to round off the show. One bit of a name game. I name off some people you've at the very least shared a locker room with, but more often than not, somebody that you've been in the ring with, whether teaming with them, being an opponent, and you give me your thoughts.
Cool.
First one, we talked about her a little bit at the beginning, Billy Starks.
I was in the ring with her, but I didn't get to interact with Billy that much because in the X Division Scramble match, Casey Navarro got power bombed on her ankle. So for like 10 minutes, she was trying to get her wheel to work again. You know, she was on one wheel for a little bit, but she was still going out there. She's doing a swanton on one foot, man, like on one leg. Like, if you watch it back, she jumps from off of 1 foot, you know, and you're just like, kid 17. But to describe her, it's weird. She's the annoying kid's sister, but if you said anything about her, I'd beat your ass. Like, it's weird. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's Billy, but like, that's Billy. It's like, she's just like, hey, watch your mouth. Don't you say nothing about her. You know what I mean? You know? And then every time, but it's just because she's so young, you forget how young she is because she's out here with us throwing live rounds. And then it's like, you forget she's so mature, she's so driven, she's so professional. Like, I say she's, you know, she's a troll and stuff, but I'm saying this stuff, this is hotel lobby. This is, you know, before that, like, when she's at the show, Billy's all business. And she's one of the best right now. And so I have nothing but she's a charming kid, and I love her to death, but sometimes I want to throw a brick at her. Because I know I'm an easy target because I'm so like awkward and quiet. Like after the shows, I'm just like hands in my pockets, just walking to the hotel elevator, just and she just messing with me. I'm like, out of everybody here, you picked me, Billy. Like, what did I do to you? And and so I just know I'm an easy target, and Billy's like, you got to take it, man. Sorry. And so, but it's just mostly us just giving each other hell. But yeah, she is talented, wise, and kind beyond her years. That's what I'll say about Billy.
Definitely.
And
next,
and a troll. And a fucking troll. But sweet kid.
Definitely. Next, Chris Bay.
Oh, listen. Look, Chris Bay is my dog. That's my homie. Listen, I feel like we won't be able to appreciate Chris Bay for what he truly means to this business until he's done. We're gonna realize that we witnessed one of the greatest careers. Now, I don't think he's gotten the credit that he deserves. I don't think he's gotten the opportunities that he deserves. I don't think he's gotten half of the things that he deserves, and I've never heard him once bitch about it. Instead of getting mad, he gets busy, and he's been busy this entire time. And in those times where I've seen Chris take some stuff to the chin, man, and he's kind of, and in those moments where he's down, you know what he's doing while he's down? He's not sulking, he's not complaining. He's looking at people that are down there with him and going, let me lift you up. There are very few people on this planet that's their first impulse while they're down, is to find somebody to lift up. There's very few people who do that.
Not very many that are like that. That is for sure.
And I'll say that I just want to say my thing that I'll say about Chris Bay is he's an amazing performer that we won't be able to appreciate until he's done, but he's even a better human being than he is a wrestler. That's saying something.
Mm-hmm. Next, you had a match with him on AEW Dark, Ethan Page.
Oh man, Ethan Page is a consummate professional. He's so professional, but at the same time, he's very he's a funny dude, but he's all business. It's so weird. I don't know. It's hard to describe. He's very business, but he's so funny. He's a funny dude, and he's easy to work with, but he's a hard hitter, man. When the bell rings, he gets grimy. He gets grimy when the bell rings. But again, Ethan Page is another guy who I'm like, I wish that wrestling was a bigger industry than it already is, because there's so many guys who I think the world is missing out on their best work because it's just not enough time to put everybody under the microscope. But I feel like Ethan Page is a guy who's just as good. I'd put him up there with like almost anybody in the country. I feel like people give a lot of credit to Miz. I'm like, yo, Ethan Page is right there with guys like Miz, bro. Who you can put Ethan Page in there with. You can put Ethan Page in there with somebody who's never wrestled before, and Ethan will make them look like they know what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah. I definitely agree with you there. And, big fan of his toy hunt vlogs. I'll say that. I love watching those. But next category I used to call it a speed round, but to be honest, it never went that damn quick. So I just random question round.
All right.
Some might be wrestling related, some might not be. Only one that I always have on is the one I like to lead off with. Craziest in-match moment.
Oh, man, I've had some pretty bizarre ones. We were working in this company called XCW in Denton, Texas. It was right across the street from the University of North Texas. So Friday nights, all the college students would come, and it was crazy. It was like a consistent 500 to 800 people every week. It was nuts. But there was one time I was in a feud with Keith, and his mom was known for giving shtick and and stuff like that to all the wrestlers, and she would get pretty animated to the point to where security would have to hold her back or whatever. So one time we talked we went over there and we thought we were like, dude, we're gonna I remember we were on a road trip for like 8 hours. We were coming up with this pitch to get mom to like do this with us. And I remember we asked her and at that point we hadn't told her anything. So we were still favoring her. She had no clue. So like there would be times where Keith and I were in a feud and I would come over to hang out the next week and she just opened the door and be like, he's downstairs. And it was just like, yo, I'd be like, yo, Keith, bro, like, come on, dog. Like, he's like, nope, kizzle fizzle, brother. And I was like, man, get the man, because Keith was also trained by Killer, so he's hella old school. And so, but we ended up, we drove about 8 hours trying to come up with this pitch. And I remember we had it down pat, bro. We like rehearsed it, we had it down pat. And as soon as we started to pitch it, she was like, I'll do it. And we were like, well, shit, like we had this whole pitch. But anyway, like Keith and I were fighting, we were going back and forth. And actually Athena was in the group with me. And so our group was fighting Keith. He used to be a part of the group called the Big Time Players. And like he kind of did the babyface run where he like leaves the group and then we're all salty and going after the world title, that whole storyline. But yeah. So we start jumping him, right? And then his mom's going nuts. And like Keith's mom blows past security, jumps the rail. So the fans go nuts, right? Keep in mind, this is Friday night, drunk college kids. So this is crazy, right? She blasts through Athena, excuse me. She blasts through Athena and slides in the ring. It felt like time stood still. And I was like, okay, this is the moment. And so at the time I was using like the diamond cutter as my finisher. And I remember she was asking me how to take it. And Keith was like, don't tell her shit, grab her and fall. Don't tell her shit. And I was like, oh man. And so like, I remember doing it, like she started punching me or whatever. And then I was like, are you ready? And she wasn't, she was just so punched. I told her, don't pull any punches, just punch me. She was whooping my ass, bro. And so it was like, and I didn't even do nothing. I was like, normally I would do something to get your fist upside my head, but I didn't do nothing. And so, but she's punching me and I'm trying to ask her, is she ready? But she keeps hitting me in the mouth. And then like, I just go for it and I grab her and I hit the move, the diamond cutter. And it's like a thud and she takes it horribly. It's like awkward looking. And this feral crowd goes silent. I mean, about 600, 700, 800 people in there, and you could have heard a mosquito fart. It was crazy. Like, and Keith at the time was so good. He has this look where he's like looking down, and then he's got like a tear in his eye when he looks up, and he looks at me, and like in the moment, I remember like losing the theatricality and entertainment moment of it. It was one of those like he's got tears. I was like, oh shit. And so he starts chasing us and the crowd comes back to life. It's super quiet. The crowd comes back to life. We haul ass out the front door, but fans are grabbing us, trying to feed us to keep. They're not trying to let us out. Yeah. So we're like, I'm telling you, it was nuts, bro. To this day, like it was crazy. And so like, we're fighting to get outside and we go to hit the block. We try to just hit the little corner and go around the side of the building and go through the locker room from the back, right? So we hit the block, we hit the corner, and I'm counting, we're doing a head count, and we can't find Scott, who at the time, like, he was one of the guys in the group, Scott McKenzie. We couldn't find, I said, where's Scott? Then Scott hits the corner, and I can't make this up. His singlet is like torn off, like the straps are gone. The straps are gone. He used to wear like a cutoff shirt over it, kind of like how Steen did. That shit's in tatters. And he's like, they're coming. And we're like, what? Because, at some point, like fans are like, all right, show's over.
Yeah.
No. Keith hits the corner, right? He comes around the corner and you see this mob of people coming around the corner. And so we go right back so we're like, oh, guess the show's not over, right? And so he's coming around, it looked like the Michael Jackson, like, Beat It video. Like, it was like, you know what I mean? Like, it was crazy. And so we're just winging it at this point because we're like, oh, we didn't plan this far, so we don't have anything. What do we do? So everybody just starts feeding the Keith. And he's like throwing us into cars, throwing us into shit. And they're like, yeah. It was, and to this day, like, we finally get to the back. Security, I think the police ended up getting called too. It was crazy. We finally get to the back and we think we're in trouble. The promoter, Knight Davis, he comes in and he's just like, that's what the fuck I'm talking about. That's how you run a show. He was like, I want to see that every week. And I remember at the time being like, I can't do this every week. Like, I'm scared right now. Like, I almost died. Like, yeah, that was my craziest moment though. Like, hitting Keith's mom with a diamond cutter and having Keith chase me a half a block. Yeah, yeah. With fans following him, cheering him on like an angry mob. Yeah.
Yeah,
we couldn't have wrote that. Like, yeah, like you can't write that kind of shit. That shit was crazy. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, hard to beat that for sure. Next question: cat or a dog person?
A dog person, but cats are fine. But I'm a dog person. But cats are cool.
Oh yeah, no, I'm the same way. My wife, when we first met, she had two. One of them left behind by a ex-roommate. And now at the current moment, we got two English bulldogs and a Great Dane puppy.
Oh, I have English bulldog.
Oh, I'm a sucker for them. I always have been. And man, I love the two that we have right now to death.
Yeah,
absolutely.
My dog, she's very judgmental. I feel like she walks around the house just judging me. She's very judgmental. She just has this look on her face, just like, you're always gone. I hate you. No, but no, I'm definitely a dog person. But cats are fine.
Oh yeah, no. What breed? You got an English bulldog, or is it your dog a different?
Yeah. No, she's an English bulldog. Her name is Butters, and she just turned 6 today, actually.
Nice. one of mine is about the max range that they get, and she's still around and kicking. But next one, favorite movie.
Oh, ooh. Can I give you my top 3? Because favorite movie, it depends on what season I'm in of
no,
life.
Total.
First one, easy, Top Gun.
Okay.
Easy. It's not like Top Gun. Second one, you might not know this movie because it's super obscure. There was this movie series. Hulk Hogan was actually in one of them, but it was called Three Ninjas.
I love it. I love those.
So, like, Three Ninjas. It's such a dumb movie, I know, but like the first one, like the original Three Ninjas, is my jam. And like my siblings and I always gravitated to it because our grandfather would teach us martial arts in the summer. So like as little kids, we were like, this movie's about us. Why doesn't anybody ever try to rob our house? We'll mess them up. Like, you know, and then as an adult, you watch it back, you're like, oh, those kids should be dead like 5 minutes into the movie. Okay, all right, we were tripping. All right. No, so Top Gun, Three Ninjas, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, Secret of the Ooze. Those are my jams.
My absolute favorite of the original trilogy, Secret of the Ooze. Love it.
Those are my jams.
Oh man, I need to go watch that one again because I was talking with somebody about.
They're all like childhood movies. Like Top Gun, like it was my dad's favorite movie, and like he watched it every day in the summer. And so I was like, I guess I'm gonna have to just watch Top Gun every day. And then it was just like, this is all right. This movie's all right. And so those were my movies. I guess a recent movie will probably be it's not even that recent. It was a Christian Bale and Hugh Jackman movie where they were both illusionists. It was called The Prestige.
Oh, I've heard of it. I think I've seen it.
They were rival illusionists. Yeah. Just a Christopher Nolan, very super layered movie. Brilliantly done. I'm a sucker for a good cinema. So I gave you a bonus one.
All right. Last but not least, best advice for anybody wanting to get into wrestling.
Ooh, man, you would think I'd be prepared for this. I would say weather the storm.
Hmm.
It's going to be a lot of that. Weather the storm. There's going to be times where somebody else don't think you have it. There's going to be times where you don't think you have it. And even in those moments, you're going to have to find a way to weather the storm. It might be snow, it might be rain, it might be, you got to weather the storm, because when you weather the storm, those sunshine moments are that much greater.
Hmm.
My Ring of Honor debut wouldn't have been as sweet had I not gone through the struggles of being like, oh shit, this might not happen. This person thinks I can't do it. This person thinks I can't do it. I don't even know if I can do it. You got to
Totally.
weather those storms, those moments, those silent moments of doubt. Those are the moments that nobody sees, though. And I don't even feel like it's a wrestling thing. I think anybody in life deals with that, where it's just like,
Yeah.
it's those moments that nobody sees you, nobody knows, but you're kind of embarrassed that you kind of gave up on yourself in those moments. You kind of walk with this embarrassment, like nobody knows you quit, but and that's enough,
Mm.
And so I think one of those things where I want to tell anybody coming into wrestling, like, get comfortable in uncomfortable situations and learn how to weather the storm, because that is the most important skill that you can ever attain as a wrestler, is the ability to weather the storm and operate in chaos. If you can't operate in chaos, you will not make it here. You can be the best wrestler that ever lived, but if you can't operate in chaos, you're going to find it very difficult. You're going to find it very difficult. It's mentally taxing. It's physically taxing. It's spiritually taxing. And especially with how the internet fans are today, and it's one of those things. It's like everybody's entitled to their opinion, but we're in a social media age. So now everybody's got a microphone. It's not like you hear boos in the stadium and then you get to go home and it's fine. You get to hear the boos in the stadium, and then you get to go on Twitter and see mentions that, like, JD Griffey fights like somebody's drunk uncle. Oh, JD Griffey's the best MMA hybrid wrestler I've ever seen. And you're like, oh, I don't know which one's true. One is giving me this glorious praise, and another one's just shitting on me. I don't know either one of these people. So, you got to just kind of get used to weathering the storm, being realistic with that. Like, you have to be realistic and realize if you're in this business, you're going to get beat up physically, mentally. A lot of people, we are losing a lot of people in wrestling, and that's the sad part. And that's why I say that's my advice to weather the storm. It's because we have so many wrestlers taking their own lives. You know what I mean? Like, and not to put like a super somber, serious note on that fucking advice, but it's the realest advice, because there's a lot of people who come into this thinking it's going to be sunshine and rainbows and we're going to live our dreams. And you do all of this work to get to heaven and find out you're in hell, and they don't know how to deal with it. And then they don't want to live like that. And it's like, and then what do? We just say thoughts and prayers, and they get a retweet, and then we go on about our day like nothing else fucking happened.
Yeah.
And why their family is left to live with these scars, right? And so it's one of those things, like, if you're gonna get into wrestling, be ready to weather the fucking storm. Be ready, because it's coming. That's my advice for that. And that's my advice for anybody pursuing anything that they have a passion for.
Oh yeah.
Because when you have a passion for something, it's almost a part of your identity. And so if somebody says I'm not a good wrestler, it makes me feel like I'm not a good person. Like, I am not worth it. You have to learn to separate yourself from your craft too, which as an artist, as a martial artist, it's hard to do. You being a soldier, it's like somebody telling you like, hey, it's different, but you get what I'm saying. It's like, your example is the most gross example of what I'm talking about, where you get home and they go, hey, don't be a soldier anymore. What?
Yeah.
Fuck you mean? I'm a fucking sailor. Like, I'm a Marine. Like, fuck you mean? Like,
yeah, no, totally.
The man I was before I left is dead. You telling me to go back? No, for real though. Like, I ain't even trying to be funny. You telling me to go back and be someone who doesn't fucking exist anymore?
Yeah. No, I
sometimes that doesn't manifest itself very well. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, no, totally. And I can totally relate, because hell, the guy that I was before I enlisted probably wouldn't even be able to gather up the courage to even do this damn podcast. Like, I was the most shy guy you never meet. And now I that pretty much got beat out of me pretty damn quick in the military, because you realize you're not going to get a damn thing done if you're going to be too shy to ask
gotta
about
weather the
stuff.
storm. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
So you already know exactly what I'm talking about, you know.
totally. And I tell people that when they talk to me about, advice on enlisting, I'm like, basically in different words, weather the storm, because you're going to have moments, especially at boot camp, where you're going to be like, what the fuck am I doing? But you get past that and you realize why you got into it, you're going to be fine.
It's the greatest honor to be able to serve, but it's also one of those things like, just because it's an honor don't mean it's going to be easy, and it's going to cost you something. Well, what does it cost you? Motherfucker, it costs you. That's what it costs you. You want to know what pro wrestling's going to cost you? Yourself, motherfucker. Like, so weather the storm. Weather the storm. Weather the storm. That's my advice. All the other stuff, I feel like their trainers can teach them, like how to bump, how to sell, how to perform moves safely. It's hard to teach someone to weather the storm, and that's just the advice I have. I can't even tell somebody how to weather the storm, because I'm still learning it in the storm as we speak right now. There are so many things that are in flux in my life right now, in my career right now. Everything's happening so quickly, and it's good, right?
Yeah.
But it's overwhelming. You have to weather the storm even when good shit's happening.
No, yeah, totally.
You know what I mean? Because you can have something where you've lined up an interview with JD Griffey and Shane Taylor this week, but then next week you've got fucking Wardlow, Joe, Hobbs, Starks, back to back. And you would think, oh, that's a good thing, but you'll fuck around and have a mental attack, a fucking anxiety attack over shit, because it's too much good shit. There's a such thing as too much good shit and too much bad shit. You got to weather the storm in every form of that phrase. You know what I mean? Like, seriously, if you're a part of this industry at all, as a fan, as a performer, as a ref, as a cameraman, I'm gonna be honest, the production, they've got it the worst out of all of us. They don't get any of the credit, but our production crew, our ring crew, our fucking referees, our producers, our agents, our coaches, they do so much to put us in the best light, and then we get to go stand in the applause while they get all of the stress and none of the applause, right? You honor that by going out and giving the best fucking performance for the people who can't get that, who can't get that applause, right? So man, that's my advice. Weather the storm.
Very, very great advice. Well, one, that is about all I have. I want to thank you for taking the time to talk to me tonight. And Absolutely. Where can people find you social media wise so they can, get their eyes on you if they don't already have them there?
Oh, absolutely. Facebook. I don't really be on Facebook that much, but Instagram and Twitter is at that JD Griffey on both platforms. That JD Griffey. And
all right,
hit me up, give me a follow. You know how y'all say it on YouTube: like, comment, subscribe. You'll be like, hey, get to with the social medias there.
We'll get that down.
Oh, you gonna get me right here? You gonna get me with that JD Griffey right here?
Yeah, we'll get that in there.
I appreciate it. Hell yeah, man. I appreciate it, man. No, thank you for having me. I appreciate the conversation. Thank you for reaching out and putting this interview together pretty quickly, man. You've been my easiest interview. I will say that. Well, you've had everything together. Like, all I had to do was show up and sit down and talk to you. So that was fantastic. So thank you.
Hey, I appreciate the compliment. I try to keep it, lighthearted and easy going, just
absolutely.
I've had one guy tell me it was like he was just sitting down having a beer with a friend. I'm like, without me even telling him that was the aim that I had for it. I'm like, damn it, that is exactly what I wanted.
Yeah. That's the vibe though. You definitely have a shoot the breeze with my bro vibe, So it's been the easiest interview, so I've enjoyed it. Thank you so much for having me, and I appreciate you.
Definitely. I'm getting kind of hungry, so I'm gonna get going.
I feel that.
All right.